Welcome to the pre-game week 6 video. This week kicks off with Chelsea and Arsenal, and both teams had opposite fortunes this week in the Champions League. So Chelsea won 4-0, and obviously had they lost, that would have been bad for morale and confidence. But either way, Chelsea, in terms of preparation, won relatively compared to Arsenal, have probably had it easier. They've got obviously the game today at home, and they had the Champions League game at home as well. So for them, it's relatively, you could say, more comfortable for them to prepare for this match, whereas for Arsenal, they had their away trip to Zagreb, which obviously is some considerable distance when you compare teams in the Champions League and how much they had to travel for. And obviously, the result for Arsenal, had they won, they would have been a better atmosphere. But the Champions League group is by no means guaranteed. They're not guaranteed to finish in the top two. And obviously, Wenger was criticised for his squad selection. But either way, this should be a very interesting game for both teams. Chelsea lose, potentially 14 points off Man City. And Arsenal, for me, need to make a statement because they've been very on off the season with draws, wins, and losses. And winning away at the champions will send a very clear signal regarding Arsenal's aspirations for the title. But in terms of players to single out, look, Pedro's not available. Apparently, Oscar's injured now as well with Willian. So there's some sort of possibility that the Chelsea midfielders that Loftus-Cheek could get involved. But either way, there's not a particular player that I would say, yeah, go get him. Otherwise, I mentioned Begovic from before. He's worth considering if you're looking at a Chelsea defender. That's something that I wouldn't look at, but if you are, Begovic is someone to consider. Arsenal, on the other hand, Mertesacker looks like he'll be involved very soon. So even though Gabriel is a 4.9 relatively cheap Arsenal defender to purchase, probably not the most wisest because there's no guaranteed, that he'll be playing sufficient games to warrant him to be in your fantasy team. In terms of offensively, I still think Sanchez is somebody you should look at. And if you want to take a risk, maybe take a risk on Walcott or Giroud, and that's what I would say. In terms of the 3 o'clock kickoff games, Villa, West Brom, obviously a derby game, and uh, in terms of players I'll single out for Villa, I mean, I've actually got Sinclair, and I still think he's been doing quite well. In terms of his other players, I mean, Richards, not bad, considering he got the assist in the previous games. He could have easily got another assist against Man United, could have scored um, again in the game against Sunderland. So he's a defender to look at. In the West Brom game, I still think, like I mentioned before, might have something to consider, but I think Villa should win this game at home. With Bournemouth and Sunderland, now Sunderland still haven't won yet, and they would have been quite disappointed to lose the game quite late on against Tottenham. But I think this might end up as a draw, and that's what I would say. There's not any further players I'll add on. Maybe for Lens, I think Lens has been doing quite well recently with his goals and assists. And okay, yeah, against Tottenham, he didn't give it 8 points, but he's still a player who actually got chances in the game along with Defoe. So I still think Lens is somebody to consider if you're looking at a player in that kind of price range. Probably one of the best options. With Newcastle and Watford, big game for Newcastle, bottom of the table, and I expect to see some sort of reaction. So, but Watford haven't conceded a lot of goals this season, so this could potentially be a 0-0 situation. But either way, I still think Newcastle are going to power through. In terms of players I recommend from Newcastle, I think Toivin is a good player to consider. From what I've seen, and he obviously played a bit in the Carling Cup. In terms of Mitrovic and these other players, for me, they kind of to prove in the league before we actually start considering them. Stoke and Leicester, obviously Leicester have had a very good start of the season, and Stoke haven't exactly, hit the level which they kind of reached throughout consistently, you could say, during last season. But with Bojan very imminently about to start for Stoke, I think he's someone else to consider along with Shaqiri and even Juve. Juve's been a good player for Stoke, especially even in France, he's been getting some decent points. With Leicester, obviously, I mentioned players before. I think this game could go either way, but I still think I expect Stoke to win this game. With Swansea and Everton, this is going to be a very tight game because Swansea have come back from a disappointing defeat against Watford, and Everton obviously are buoyed from the victory against Chelsea. So the way I see this is it could go either way, and it's very difficult to call. There's no other further players I will add, even though Nathan scored a hat trick. There's no guarantee he'll be playing. Maybe this game week he'll probably play because of his performance from last week. But I still think the players to look at, one is Barkley. I think Cohen is a good option for the price range, and he does offer, something different in the Everton lineup. So yeah, maybe he is someone to consider along with Lukaku. But Naismith, don't get him just because he scored a hat trick for last week. Don't chase for last week points. Focus on this game week and the future game weeks as well. With Man City and West Ham, West Ham have been getting results away at some big stadiums like Anfield and Emirates. So I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham turned up here and won by 1-0. But I think Man City, I think will most likely avoid defeat, although I can see them conceding for some reason. But who knows? Man City might just keep 6 clean sheets, 6 perfect games for them, 6 wins. And with Aguero coming back, I think Man City will be disappointed with the Juventus game. But if I'm honest, I watched the Juventus game, and Juventus, they showed patches of quality. Morata's strike of pure quality. Pogba's ball to Mandzukic, great quality. So they're really caught out by moments of, you could say, brilliance. And that can happen in Champions League. But either way, I think there's some sort of reaction. So Man City are most likely to win this game. In terms of the Sunday kickoffs with Spurs and Crystal Palace, I remember last season, I think this ended as a draw, and Palace totally dominated. So I expect to see Spurs retaliate, especially Harry Kane, maybe because obviously he hasn't kicked off, the scoring shots this season, and with Spurs winning I think it was 3-1, yeah, in the UEFA Cup game, and with Son now getting embedded into the first team, I think Spurs could potentially get even stronger and stronger. So, but Palace have been great away, so yeah, this game could go either way. Probably, if I had to call it, probably say a draw, but I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs won this game. With in regards to Liverpool and Norwich, obviously people are going to put Liverpool as favourites, and rightly so. They're at home, but I wouldn't be surprised if Norwich snap something, because I think Norwich, they they look a good opposition at home, but I think they want to prove something away. With them becoming a very defensive team, most likely at Anfield, with parking the bus and playing counter attack. And Liverpool's kind of, I don't think they're a great team when it comes to breaking defenses down. So I can see maybe Norwich snatch something, but it would depend on the first goal. I think if Norwich gets the first goal, it makes life a lot easier for them. Whereas if Liverpool get the first goal, then it could open the floodgates. In regards to Southampton Man United, last season, if you guys remember, Font assisted and Percy and Man United won this game somehow when Southampton played quite good. I personally think Southampton will win this game. I'll be surprised if Man United did somehow win this game, if I'm honest. And looking at PSV, the short injury is a big blow for them. And that's all I'll say. I've got Pella from Southampton, and his value has dropped down. But either way, I think, Southampton probably have enough. I think Man United's defence with Shaw gone out, it's only getting weaker and weaker, and they're going to rely further on De Gea to keep some great saves. So yeah, that's my brief analysis. In terms of my team, I haven't done actually any transfers right about now, but I've got 2 transfers available, and there is one transfer I think I'll be most likely will be implementing that before I go to sleep, or maybe just tomorrow early in the morning. And whether if I do a second one, that depends on, I don't know, depends on how I feel tomorrow. So that's all I'll say. In terms of any other third players I kind of recommend, I've mentioned the ones all from before. There's nothing really to add. Maybe one in terms of Spurs and Son. I think he's definitely a good player, and obviously he's both-footed, so he's definitely someone I think Pochettino wants to kind of really get involved in the first team. But right about now, because he played the UEFA Cup game and everything, I think it's just a game. It's more of a situation, just waiting and seeing exactly how Pochettino kind of employs him in the first team, what position, and then making a decision on him. Because at £8 million, he might be a cheaper option relative to Kane. But obviously, Kane, the reason why he's at that value as well is because he potentially takes a penalty kicks. So you've got to look at both sides of the coin, really. So yeah, that's my pre-game week 6 video. And if you guys haven't so far joined the league, the Fantasy Football Fan League, please do join that. The league code is provided in a separate video on the channel. So yeah, thanks for watching my video. Talk soon.